And welcome to interview today and tell a bit more about your hair loss journey and the results you have been able to achieve following your pre program for last 6 months and basically how things were before you started with the program.
Awesome. So yeah, about 2 years ago in the fall, or I guess almost three now, in the fall of 2022, I had COVID the previous summer. And then like in October, November, I started experiencing just more like hair fall in the shower or like when I was like messing with my hair. And I think I visited a dermatologist and they said that it was probably just like COVID hair shed and
Mm.
maybe telogen effluvium, and it would kind of like fix itself. But after a couple of months of waiting in like March of 2023, there I hadn't really noticed much regrowth, and I think the problem had continued to worsen a bit. Like there was more shedding rather than a little bit of regrowth or stopping shedding. So
All right.
I visited a dermatologist again, and I started finasteride for a few months. Yes, and the shedding seemed to decrease a bit, but I hadn't done anything else like starting minoxidil yet, which would be later in the summer. And yeah, there wasn't much regrowth. When I did start minoxidil later that summer, I wasn't really aware about how to apply it correctly, even with short hair. So I was just kind of putting the liquid and like smearing it into the hair instead of onto the scalp. So that didn't help very much. And yeah, so I just didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't see much regrowth, and I really did like having long curly hair, and I wasn't able to do that during the following year. So I was pretty annoyed, and I kept trying through the following year, like through the end of 2023. But then I started creatine for lifting in order to get a bit stronger for swimming. And I also
Mm.
had a reaction to that. So any progress that I saw, which was minimal, but any progress that I saw with the finasteride and starting the minoxidil, even if I wasn't doing it completely correctly, was kind of ruined with the creatine. So the creatine was from like basically winter 2023 into like start of 2024. And so I read about that. I stopped that at the end of winter 2024. But at this point, I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. So I did some more research. I found Alex's workbook. And so I started with that and trying to kind of create my own routine and like start things correctly. I was able to ask Alex some questions, which were helpful. We had like a couple of meetings just to discuss any questions I had about the workbook. And the workbook is great. Like now that the 6 months are done, I can always reference the workbook about like when to cycle things or like specifics of any like methods that I want to brush up on instead of like looking for the videos or whatever. I can just check the workbook. So that's definitely useful to have. But I think midway through last summer, 2024, um, I knew that like regrowth fully would take like maybe like 6 to 8 months, and I wanted to have my hair ready for Greece now. So
Uh,
I was like, yeah, let's do the program. Alex knows what he's talking about, and yeah, it's been everything that I've wanted. It's worked pretty much perfectly, and I'm still seeing some regrowth now. So yeah, just follow the recipe, and you'll see success.
mm. All right. When you said that you did start a treatment before you reach out to me, like you did finasteride for a while and then you did minoxidil. Like when you applied, for example, minoxidil, like how long did you do it before you reach out to me in terms of workbook, in terms of program?
I started minoxidil like July, maybe July of 2023. And then I started the program like July of 2024. So it was
So
basically
it's
a year
right.
and the creatine ruined some things in the middle. But yeah, pretty much a year.
Right. So you have been a while for more than a year with finasteride and about a year with minoxidil, but there was no results and you were still losing the ground, right?
Yes, and that was pretty much because my scalp was also kind of out of whack, and the program helped me stabilize my scalp and everything because my skin is a little bit sensitive. But yeah,
Mm,
so that was really an important factor that I hadn't considered before. And any regrowth that I was able to do before the program, which was not that noticeable, um, couldn't even be sustained because of the scalp issues.
and tell a bit more about how was your scalp back then? Like what did happen in your scalps? Did you notice?
So I think, well, also I was using, yeah, I was using like shampoos with chemicals in them and stuff that probably weren't great for my scalp instead of like a more natural shampoo. And then I think I was over applying minoxidil, so that my scalp was like kind of itchy and not like stable to sustain a lot of the regrowth there. Um, so that wasn't great. And then also there was some tension sometimes just from like I mean like stress or just like adverse conditions on the scalp, and I
Right.
didn't know like how to manage that either. And the program addressed all of those things and helps my scalp feel a lot more relaxed, and also more importantly, like helps the regrowth stay there.
Right. Okay, awesome. And how is your shedding nowadays, like in terms of like when you first reach out to me compared to now, like when you have seen results in terms of the hair recovery, how is your daily shed now?
Yeah, the daily shed has stabilized and is pretty solid. I would say just like combing or brushing my hair in the morning, maybe they're like 5 to 10 hairs then. And then I don't really notice that much shedding throughout the day. And then maybe another 5 to 10 hairs, maybe 15 when I'm like brushing my hair in the after I shower in the nighttime.
Mm,
So yeah, it's pretty much stabilized to what it was before, or maybe even less than before I started the program.
awesome. All right, let's take a look at your pictures. And again, you said that you will share a couple more pictures with me later on, but I will show the ones that I
Yes.
already have. Um, so this one here is the ones that you shared with me regarding concern of the crown, and this was a bit into the program as well. Can
Yes.
you tell a bit more about it and what was the concern for you when you did take this picture?
Yes. So the shedding started at the temples, I think, or maybe, and soon after the crown, like 2 years ago, but I didn't really notice the crown at first. And after starting the program, I think this was like maybe 4 months in, the temples filled in pretty soon, at least to a noticeable extent. But the crown was lacking a little bit behind, both in like density, like I could feel it, and also like see it when I parted my hair there. So
Yeah.
I was like a little bit like worried, and I asked like, oh, like should I just keep following the plan? Like when will this fill in? And Alex said yes. It might take a little bit longer, but just following the microneedling, the minoxidil, all the masking stuff, and it should fill in. And then it pretty much did. Like a month or two after we had this conversation, I could see a noticeable difference. And I think that's the next picture.
Yeah, this one here.
Yeah.
I have it ready.
So yeah, and so that's pretty much filled in. And I can tell you now, I mean, I'll send another picture, but like the density at the back, maybe it looks pretty much the same, but the density has even improved since then. And this was probably like 4 months ago now since that
Mm,
picture was taken. So yeah,
yeah,
uh,
right.
it's definitely all of the aspects of the program have helped with that. And then the temples have pretty much stabilized. There's a little bit more regrowth as well, but those filled in pretty quickly after starting the program too.
Right, awesome. And again, like you will share the pictures of temples later on, so I don't have them. But just to
Yes.
ask you regarding when you did notice improvements in temples, like what did happen? Like, did you notice that there was a better structure in temples, or in terms of density of the hair, or was it that you did notice vellus hairs that are growing out? Like, what are the first
Um,
signs that you notice you are improving?
um, Probably the small Wellis hairs at first, and then gradually those turned into stronger hairs as I kept consistent with the minoxidil routine. And I think, yeah, there's still some Wellis hairs there that would fill it in completely. It's pretty much unnoticeable now, but I think there's still some a little bit more room for regrowth there in the next couple of months. And yeah,
Mm,
I mean, I think the key is just being patient because like before even, and you emphasized this, but before I was like always like wondering when uh I would see improvements there and like always checking every day and kind of even like stressing myself out. And as we know, like stress is not a good thing for regrowth. So yeah, just trusting the plan and being patient and not maybe like checking or like taking pictures every day to stress yourself out is
mm.
probably a good idea and it will regrow over time.
Well, I'll just ask you, William, because you are on the treatment for quite a time before you actually joined the program. What did make you
Yes,
confident that I could help you? Because again, you are kind of on the core treatment you're having is kind of similar what you did back then. Like you did
right,
take finasteride and did
right.
apply minoxidil, so it is feels those same tools you use in this program. But what made
Yes.
you confident that what I structure for your approach makes a difference? Like what made you change the minds that actually could help you?
I think it was just the confidence with which you described your results of your like your participants in your program and seeing testimonials from them like this, and also hearing your own story of how you were struggling with this, and it took you like a decade or more to figure it out, and seeing your results and kind of trusting that you presented your results with trust and authenticity and that you wanted to help people and yeah, kind of all of that combined after I looked through your materials and talked to you convinced me that you knew what you were doing and yeah, you could help me out.
All right. And what was the first signs you noticed that you are improving? Like, what was the first signs that gave you confidence that you are going in the right direction?
Probably that the like itching and the scalp tension kind of decreased and then disappeared within the first week or two. Um, that was definitely helpful because those were the issues that were probably most prominent that we were talking about at first.
Mm, oh,
And then slowly, within maybe the next month or two, the hair definitely started to feel a bit more like full to the touch. And some like in the temples and the top of the scalp near the front where there was probably the most shedding from the creatine right before I started the program. That started to feel a bit more full. And then
mm,
maybe a month later, we talked about the temples and sorry, we talked about the crown, and then that filled in. And then yeah, since then it's kind of been just like a slow thickening everywhere to now about 7 months after I started. It feels just as thick as it did before. And I've even gotten like comments about how great the hair looks and that it's long and curly again. Yeah, so
mm,
uh,
all right.
it's slow progression, but it definitely happens for sure.
Awesome. And how is your life now? Like when you don't have to worry about the CLS anymore? Like how has things have changed for you in terms of your daily life, in
Um,
terms of mindset?
yeah, I mean, it's definitely much less stressful. Like I can focus on school stuff or I can focus on swimming and just put more of my attention elsewhere instead of worrying about, oh, if I'm doing the right thing for my hair or if I need to research more about my hair or uh, just like worrying about it in general, um, or like worrying about how it's looking in general. Or, yeah, I mean, noticeably, I've enjoyed school more probably this year just because the hair has been improving than the first 2 years. So yeah,
Mm,
that's huge. I
all right.
mean, it changes everything. It changes your mood, just your outlook. So yeah, I mean, that I think that's a good point to make that it's probably the most important part, just being able to turn your attention back to things that you want to and not having to worry about the hair. It's pretty
Mm,
impactful. And yeah, definitely a huge thank you for that.
yeah, all right, awesome, William. And yeah, like since you have been in like you did get a workbook first, and then you did join the program. Like, what was your first experience with the workbook, and what was the main reasons kind of you decided to join the program as well later on? Like, what was the difference for your experience of using both of those
Uh,
like parts?
I think the workbook is great if you have a little bit more knowledge because then you can just follow it like a recipe and apply it yourself. But if you have no idea what you're doing in the first place, like we talked about, it can be a bit overwhelming just seeing everything at once. And it's not exactly personalized. So you don't know maybe what you can skip or what you need to focus on. Um, and also, I didn't have like complete access to you to ask you via WhatsApp or anything. Like questions
Mhm.
I have as I go or problems that arise. Um, and yeah, so yeah, the workbook is great. I think if you are familiar with the solutions, maybe. Um, but if you're kind of just starting out with no idea what's going on, I think the program definitely felt like a better decision to
Mm.
ensure that I got results by the time I wanted to, instead of maybe
Uh,
experiencing problems and not being able to fix them in time. So
mhm.
probably that's the main reason that I decided to uh, join the program instead of just using the workbook because I wanted to make sure I had results by the beginning of the summer, and I did. So
Mm.
it paid off.
Right, I see. Yes, because like you said in the beginning of the session, like that you use now workbook as reference, right? Like so it actually helps you now even more because it's summarized of what you have done as a program.
Right. Exactly.
Mm. Right. Okay, great. And what you would say to other guys who are in similar situation and who are struggling with the hair loss and have similar issues like you have been having and have affected like has affected their mindset, confidence. Like, what would you say about like what advice would you give to them?
Advice I would give is probably um probably try to minimize like stress as much as possible. Just take a deep breath at first instead of trying to stress about how to figure it out right now because like I know that I was definitely stressed, but that didn't help the problem whatsoever. The only problem it helped was like finding a way to fix it by like encouraging me to look more into it and then finding the workbook and finding the programs for you. So I think yes, advice would be definitely uh research and take those like action steps about how you can address the problem, but don't stress too much about it. And it will get better if you follow the right steps and the right procedures like I did with the program. But I think having patience and trusting that it will get better and trusting that you'll be able to look back on the time um, as like kind of unfortunate with like maybe how it impacted your mood and your mindset and all of that, but that'll just make the time afterward feel so much better when you get it all figured out. So yeah, I think just
Mm.
trusting the people who know what's going on is probably the best advice I have.
Awesome. And just one last question, Willem. Like, how did you find the structure of the program itself? Like, was it something that you found easy to follow and implement, or was it some struggles with it?
I think there were maybe the only struggles I experienced were just like uh finding the right supplements or like ordering them sometimes. But no, the structure of the program itself was perfect. The Google Sheets was very easy to follow with like daily and weekly steps and then some recommendations below. Um, yeah, and I mean now I've kind of just it's become habit to know what to do on which day and when I need to order new supplements or when I need to do
Mm.
different like masking techniques. So and yeah, like you said, I mean, the whole point of the program is to kind of build an intuition of how your scalp is feeling, how your hair is looking or feeling, and when you need to do which steps so that I can do it on my own now after I was taught by you in the program. Yeah, and I think it's been a big success, and the structure of the program, kind of building on each of the previous months, definitely helped with that.
Awesome, awesome, Willem. So yes, thank you for attending today's interview and sharing your results and how things have been for you in the program and what results you have been able to achieve and how things are now after. So thanks, Willem, for taking time on this Sunday. Do you have any final words that you want to share with us before we end the session?
I don't think so. Just thank you so much for the help, and I'm super glad that I made the decision to join the program. And it pretty much worked exactly how I wanted it to in the past 6 to 8 months to make sure that I had the regrowth that I wanted by this time. Um, so yeah, thank you, Alex. It's been very much a pleasure working with you.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. Thanks for sharing, Willem, and I wish you good luck in the future.